Okay, here's question number 6 here. I know it says 1 here, but it's supposed to be a 6. It talks about this Marfan syndrome. It talks about the disorder, what some of the diagnoses are, some of the conditions, that how it affects the body and that. So let's go right to the question. It says 6a, indicate how this syndrome is inherited. So what they're asking for is the mode of inheritance. Kind of like a previous question we've done before. So there's 4 different modes, right? And then they want you to give 2 pieces of evidence to support that. So if we take a look at this pedigree, we can see that every generation is affected. And when every generation is affected, that leads us to think that it's going to be dominant. Okay, and now we have to determine if it's sex-linked dominant or autosomal dominant. Now, if it is autosomal, it's going to be relatively equal boys and girls. Now, it's not going to be 50-50, because we never have 50-50 boys and girls. But if you take a look at this, we can see that we have relatively equal. So it's a few more girls, but relatively equal. Now, let's do the same type of analysis here. If we thought maybe it was way more girls, and therefore we thought that it would be sex-linked dominant, because again, that's one of the evidence for sex-linked dominant. It's overwhelmingly girls. We must remember that one rule. If you have an affected boy, all affected boys must have affected mums. And that's not the case here. So that right there determines that this can't be sex-linked, and it has to be autosomal dominant. So what's our 2 pieces of evidence for this? One of them is every generation is affected. At least somebody in that generation is affected. And the other piece of evidence is it's relatively equal boys and girls. Okay? The other one you could talk about too is that heterozygous have the disorder. So we know this individual must be heterozygous. Why? Because they had some affected, some not affected kids, offspring. And that means that they must be heterozygous. In this case, they do express Marfan's disorder or syndrome, therefore they must be hetero. And because it's autosomal, our legend is going to give the capital letter to the disorder. And to be unaffected, have to have little m's. To be, I guess we'll just say normal, whatever that means. Okay, any issues, just give me an email. Thanks, guys.